All right, how we doing, everyone? Um, Time for something a little bit different, I guess. I have a couple things I kind of wanted to talk about, related to politics and just gaming community in general. Not so much related to DSP or anything like that, but just in general. Um, as you can see, one of the things I wanted to talk about was Dragon Age. Sorry. But yeah, so let's get into it here. Let's start with Dragon Age since it's on the screen. Obviously, there is a lot of conspiracy, conjecture, criticism, whatever you want to call it, going on about the game lately. And oh, it's too woke. It's suddenly woke now. Everything is woke. So woke. Everything woke. So woke that, like, apparently we've lost the very definition of what woke even fucking is anymore, right? Like, who the fuck knows what woke is and what woke isn't? Now, I get it when people claim that some games might be, like, really, really woke or whatever. And I can kind of see what some people are talking about here with some of it. Like, hold on. Okay, so I found a thing. This is the list was put together by the Woke Content Detector Steam group with association from members of the RPG HQ. Okay. So this is a list of all the woke games apparently. And it's a big ass list apparently. So I just wanted to name a couple games that they think is woke, which is basically every fucking game under the sun. Within the last 2 or 3 years, almost every single game they consider woke. So much to the point where you like the very definition of woke is stretched so far thin, it doesn't mean anything anymore. I love how, ironically enough, Hogwarts Legacy is considered woke when the creator is like the most anti-woke, transphobic person out there, right? But it's not recommended because Hogwarts Legacy, a Harry Potter game, contains overtly pro LGBTQ messages, contains overtly pro DEI messages. 1800 Scotland somehow feels diverse. So, I mean, that's kind of ironic a little bit. Obviously, got Baldur's Gate 3, you got Starfield, Hades, Tekken 8. I don't know how Tekken 8 could be woke. Apparently, it does pro LGBTQ messaging. Pale World, pro LGBT messaging. Wolong Falling Dynasty, pro LGBT message. You're getting the a pattern here, right? You're getting something. You're seeing what is the driving factor behind all of these. What makes a game woke and doesn't woke and not woke is basically pro LGBT or not, right? And what constitutes as pro LGBT is merely just representation. It's not like it's like hard, because some people are trying to say that like there's a difference between inclusion and having an LGBT character and like being super preachy about how LGBT people are just like normal people, and I've never seen that example really used in any of these games. It's literally just representation. But because the game has a character that might be LGBT, apparently that makes them woke game, and it's not recommended. I hope you can see this good. Call of Duty, all the Call of Duties recently are contains overtly pro LGBTQ images, multiple pride flag calling cards. So I guess because you can customize your calling cards. Oh my god, it has a pride flag. You gotta not play this game. Like, if you go by this list, you can't play almost any game. None of these games are able for you to play because it has a rainbow in it, has a fucking rainbow, has queer people in it, can't fucking play it. Like, this is ridiculous. Red Dead Redemption 2 contains subtly pro-DEI messages. Several minus characters espouse modern-day political sentiments. As an example, the NPC Sadie Adler believes the same way a modern-day feminist would. Really? Elder Scrolls 5. Homosexual marriage options. An NPC in White One asks whether the sight of a strong. Okay, yep. So yeah, like literally all of this is just people getting butthurt because it has inclusion in it, right? Oh no, they dared to either have a LGBT character or the very mention of queer romancing going on. Oh my god, there's queer romancing going on? Oh, terrible. Yeah. So, going back, I gotta find it. You see what I'm saying though? It's like everything, everyone is like, so like the whole, whenever someone says a game is woke, I just basically ignore it at this point because they're talking out their ass, right? Like, oh my god, it's a fantasy game. They shouldn't have homosexual people in a fantasy game. Like, first of all, why not? Because homosexuals exist as long as straight people have exist. Hate to break it to you, but like, look at ancient Roman history. I mean, you're gonna be kind of shocked there. It's not a new thing, right? But people are like, so it's like I don't get it. It's like anything that's woke is basically like regular inclusion, regular like diversity included, right? Which is a big thing, especially in these type of games where you get to create your own character and shit, right? Because of course, if they give you a character customization option to create your own character, they're probably going to include an option for that, you know? So it's like I don't get why people are freaking out so much about this Dragon Age than other Dragon Age games, because every Dragon Age game that has come out has had an LGBT character in it. Even if you go back to Origins, there was a gay character in it. In Dragon Age Inquisition, there was a trans character in it. No one ever, like back then, called those games woke. You know what I mean? Like, this is a new concept for very reactionary, triggered type of conservatives, in my opinion. Okay? It's conservatives, it's like they're free. And this, like, again, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative or Republican. It's not a left or right thing. It's not being able to tolerate basic everyday reality in a way, you know? Because it's like, even if you don't like queer people or LGBT people, that's fine. You can have your opinion. But to try to pretend that it doesn't exist at all is kind of crazy, in my opinion. Like, it exists. You can ignore it if you want. Most of these games are not shoving it in your fucking face. And that goes for Dragon Age 2, or this game 2. Okay? One of the companions is non-binary, I think, right? And non-binary, contrary to popular belief, is not a new thing. The name itself is new. Non-binary as a term is new. But like, you got the ancient, like the Native Americans, they had a name for it called Two-Spirit, which was like a third gender. A lot of ancient cultures had a third gender option kind of thing. Not an option, but like a third gender, like people who didn't fit like male or female. It's not a new ideal. It's just a new term for it. Right? So, but apparently they were okay with having a trans character in Inquisition, but they're not okay with having a non-binary character in Dragon Age Inquisition. and they're saying, "Oh, it's preachy," and I'm like, to be fair, I have not come across that quest yet. I am like 32 hours into the game, and I have not come across the side quests that people are talking about. All right. Oh shit. Sorry, I forgot that I had shut my filters off from my audio. Hold on. It probably sounds like crap. There, that should sound a little bit better. I apologize. I had shut I had shut all the filters off from my mic a little while ago, and I forgot to turn them back on. So hopefully it sounds a little bit better. I'm not repeating myself. I'm not going to start over again. I already started over too many times. Anyway, so it's like, well, people were saying that like because it's a companion that is LGBT or non-binary, it focused their side quest like because each companion has their own kind of companion quests. They'll get like 2 or 3 different companion quests that you got to do that's related to that companion. And I guess because one of the characters is non-binary, one of your companions is, a lot of their side quests revolve around that topic because they are just figuring it out that they're non-binary now, right? It's not like they were always non-binary, gay, trans, whatever. It's like they're trying to sort out the complicated feelings of figuring out how they identify, which is a realistic thing that people go through when they were born female and they feel like they might not be female and they're trying to really understand themselves and who they really are as a person and how they identify. These are real things that happen, right? So I guess part of their side quests involve talking about this and people are up in arms about it. Now, these are side quests that are not mandatory in a video game. Now, I know if you're like a completionist or something, you're probably going to want to do every quest you can. I get that. Whatever. But at the same time, if you are so horribly offended at the fact that there's realism in a fantasy game, and that's the other thing. Everyone's like, oh, this is a fantasy game. It has no real repercussions. So, like, okay, well, fair, but this is also a fantasy game. It's not. Does that make sense? It's like it's a fantasy game. You got different races going on here. You got dragons, you got elves, you got all this crazy shit. But you're thinking that like in a fantasy game with multiple different races and species and monsters and shit, you still expect the fantasy game in a fantasy setting to only have straight and male female options? Like, you don't think that in a fantasy world with different races, every single race would only have male and female? Do you think that if aliens, like, if we came in contact with an alien species, right? They dropped in from the sky and welcomed humanity, whatever, and it's like, hey, we're aliens and stuff. You think they're gonna have male and female only? You think they're gonna be straight only? Could have fucking queer aliens. You don't know. They could have evolved beyond the point of having gender because the gender binary of male and female is so archaic and outdated at this point, honestly. It's like a very human thing, right? Like, but like once you get into like multiple races and different aliens as species and fantasy settings and stuff like that, it like the doors opens the door to a lot of more understanding of what it is to be living, if that makes does that make sense? Like they're not going to be restricted by such archaic ideologies as male, female, straight, not straight, right? They have more important things to worry about. Clearly, I'm not probably properly articulating my thoughts here, and I apologize. But like it's like trying to force like our limited human beliefs on different species that have not grown accustomed to the primitive human beliefs and ideologies that we have, right? Well, again, if you're like, we saw that list. Like, there is a lot of good games on that list, and there are people out there that are so triggered. They're literally snowflakes. Like, I love how they consider like left-leaning people the snowflakes, but these people are the snowflakes. Like, literally the snowflakes. Like, they can't even handle the audacity that there might be a queer romance, and they might even mention like not liking women if you're a male or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, the audacity. Like, I don't get it. I really don't, I guess. It's like that you're gonna like limit your not only your experience with stuff to your own comfortable safety bubble. Like, we talk about Phil hiding in his bubble all the time, right? But what do you think this is? Like, isn't that the same thing in a way? I don't know. Excuse me. It's like anyway. But it's like, if you I'm not saying you have to play the game. I'm not. Like, if you don't fucking want to play the game because of a couple side quests, because they had the audacity to have a character that was not straight, not cis, you know what I mean? Don't play it. But to shit on the entire game as a whole because of a couple side quests, because they dared to have inclusion and diversity in their game. Oh my god, it's DEI. And DEI is awful because they're trying to make games more realistic and have inclusion. Like, as someone who's not straight, you know how many thousands of games I have played back in like the 90s and 2000s that had nothing but straight cis characters. I didn't freak out. Like, how dare they not have trans characters? How dare they not have non-binary characters? I didn't give a shit. I just played the fucking game. Like, hey, the game is good. The game is not good. I judged it based on the actual gameplay, based on storytelling, based on gameplay elements. I didn't judge a game entirely because there was no diversity in it or not. That's so ridiculous to write an entire game off just because I got triggered because they didn't have this or they did have this. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's not like, oh, well, they're trying to push these DEI to try to like somehow force people to like, oh, if they see trans people and non-binary people, that's gonna somehow make them become trans in some way. I'm like, that's not how that works at all. Like, you know how many movies I've watched, again, with straight people kissing or making out, or just the main characters were straight, and guess what? I'm still not, you know? So, like, I don't really, that's not how you make someone straight or not. You can't change a person's sexuality. You really can't. They are conditioned to like what they're going to like or identify how they're going to identify. You can't really force that upon someone. So it's like, in my opinion, the whole DEI thing is a bunch of bullshit that people are bitching and complaining about for no real reason. Being triggered just because there's an inclusion of diversity included in the game. Now, can some games take this a little too far? Yes, I think some games can. Like, what the fuck was the name of that one? Like that really. Hold on. 1 second. I need to find what the name of it is. Like, I think it was called Dustborn. Like you can go too far over the edge of being inclusive to the point where it's a little bit cringy. Like, it's a little bit unbearable and a little bit cringy. And especially with Dustborn, where it's like there was no real gameplay and you basically, it was 100% story focused and they were cranking it up to 11. Like, in terms of that, like, yeah, you can get a little bit overboard and it could kind of ruin the experience there, right? Or like how Phil was bitching and complaining about recently about Life is Strange, the first Life is Strange game, and he was bitching complaining because there's a bisexual kiss in the game. I'm like, bro, have you not played those games before? That's kind of the point of those games. They do have LGBT representation. Like, I think the main character is like queer, like curious or whatever, bi-curious, whatever it is, right? So it's like that is a possibility. That's what those games are kind of not really based on, but like they're known to be like heavy LGBT themes throughout those games, right? Like, that's kind of those type of games. If you don't like it, don't fucking play it. Again, I don't know what he was expecting there, but anyway, I guess that's enough of me bitching about Dragon Age. I wanted to talk about one other thing, and it's going to be kind of a hot topic issue, so please don't get too offended. Well, let me transition over. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry, I apologize. I don't actually know how to crop out, like, or to expand the image within the within the browser. Like, I know some people can like just click and drag and bring it bigger, like, but I don't know how to do that yet. So I'm still learning. I apologize. Also, I'm not used to having like the monitor be over here. That's a little weird. But anyway, um, yeah, election results. I wanted to briefly talk about this. I know it is a hot topic issue. I probably shouldn't say anything at all, but at the same time, it's like I did go out and vote, even though it really didn't make much difference. But I wanted to talk a few things about the election, if that's okay. Um, and obviously, I'm not a Republican. I am a left-leaning person, right? So I was not super excited that Trump won again, which is just kind of insane to me that people would vote for this person a second time, knowing all the insane things that he has done, right? So let's talk. America is in danger, I would say. And I'm a little worried about her, the country, right? Because I do live here, unfortunately. Like, I kind of like wouldn't mind. Like, no, I've never been super patriotic before. Like, I always hated like I was raised having to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance every day and told all these lies that America is like, oh, the greatest country ever when it clearly isn't, and everything like that. And the fact that we can't even, like, every other first world country can provide basic health care to its citizens except for us, apparently, for some fucking reason. Oh, right, I know why. Because capitalism and greed. But anyway. But yeah, I do think America is going to be in distress the next 4 fucking years. Right? So let's see, where do I start here? Turns out about the actual election itself, I wouldn't really consider it much of a Republican landslide win, more of a failure for Democrats to show up. And I can kind of see that. Like, I saw the numbers and I don't know where they got it from, but like, I'm pretty sure it was a legitimate source because they were showing the website. I just don't remember what the website was. But I mean, I know it says news on there, but I'm not an actual news source. I'm just giving my opinion here. But anyway, well, just like DSP, but like, it was 15 million Democrats did not show up compared to the last election. So we had 15 million Democrats less than we did for the election in 2020, right? There was 15 million less Democrats. So this was more of a failure for Democrats to show up. And even with 15 million less Democrats showing up and 3 million less Republicans voting for Trump than they did the last election, even then it was still kind of a close election race, which kind of says something. If 15 million Democrats do not vote this election than last election, and you have 3 million less people voting for Trump, and Trump barely wins, that's not a good look for Republicans, okay? That's showing that if there was literally anyone else as a Democratic candidate, they would have won over Trump. They would have. And that, like, because people don't want fucking Trump. Like, yeah, the vast majority of people spoke. Not really. It was like, what, 0.5 of the majority that did vote? Like, it was like 50.5, 50.7. So, like, barely won the majority vote. Barely won the Electoral College vote, right? So it's like, I would say the vast majority of Americans didn't vote, let alone wanted him as president, right? Or they didn't vote for him, but they didn't vote for anyone. That's the problem. Because, like, Democrats, 15 million Democrats did not fucking win, or win. Well, we all lost because Trump won, but, like, I mean, like, if 15 million Democrats had voted, Trump would have lost, right? All right, so let's see what else. I had a little bit of notes here. Trump is basically just a figurehead, right? He's there to divide the left and the right, to take really no accountability if he loses, to take all the accountability if he wins. See, when he first started his election in 2016, he actually had some decent people behind him, and they were really the ones running the show. The Republicans and the people around him, they were just saying, hey, sign this bill. And then he would sign it with his ugly ass fucking signature and be like, yeah, look at these executive orders I'm passing, right? And then if it does good, he gets to take credit for it. And if it goes bad, he's like, well, it's not my fault, it's their fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the foreigners' fault. It's the immigrants' fault. He will always just blame it on anyone else. This is literally DSP narcissistic behavior, because I think Trump and DSP have a lot actually in common. They're both raging narcissists. They can never be wrong. It's always someone else's fault, right? They always think they're hot shit. They always think they know better than anyone else. And it's kind of scary to think that there's basically someone similar to DSP, except, let's be honest, more smarter than DSP. Because, like, even though Trump isn't super smart, he's still smarter than fucking DSP, but that's not saying a whole lot. Most people are smarter than DSP by default anyway, right? But still smarter than fucking DSP. But he also, like, has this, like, appeal to, like, the poorly educated. You know, he's like that whole, oh, I love the poorly educated, you know? It's like he had that voice clip where he was saying shit like that. He appealed to, like, the incel and beta males around the world. Like, they are greatly, like, attracted to him. Not in a sexual way, but you know what I mean? Like, he appeals to that kind of crowd. Like, oh yeah, well, like, we'll control women's bodies. We'll take away the right to fucking have abortions and have their own bodily autonomy and everything like that. And then you got these chuds that see that, and then they go around like fucking Nick Fuentes and say, your body, my choice. And then he gets fucking doxxed online like he should. A fucking creep. But yeah, like, everyone that used to be in his cabinet in 2016 left his ass. His cabinet left, his generals, his vice president, they all left. They literally said, that Trump was a danger to democracy. These are people that were on his team in 2016. His vice president, Michael Pence, like one of the most, good or bad, one of the most like staunch Christians, said he was a threat to democracy and didn't like him. Doesn't want anything to fucking do with him. All right. Economists are saying that if Trump puts his tariffs into plan, that it's gonna be a devastation to our economy. It's gonna be like the next Great fucking Depression, because we end up having to pay for those tariffs, not him, right? He's also Trump told the crowd during his election cycle, get out and vote just this one time, adding that you won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know that. It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore after that. He said this. I can pull, if you want, let me see if I can find that video. Hold on. All right, I found it. It's a very short video, but here we go.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. What did he say? I'm a Christian.
I'm not Christian. No shit, you're not Christian. But Christians love to think that he's Christian when he's not. He even says it right here.
Beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you.
I'm not Christian.
You
I
gotta
love you.
Get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Oh, what was that, Trump? Huh? What was going to happen in 4 years?
You gotta get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
You're not going to have to vote in 4 years. In 4 years, you're not going to have to vote again. What does that sound? That sounds almost like he's going to try to take over the country or something. That sounds a little worrying, in my opinion. Oops, that's the wrong one. Wait, where is it? Hold on. Oh, we'll just leave that up. Fuck it. We'll have the deer chan over here. But yeah, in 4 fucking years, you won't have to vote again. That's a little worrying, isn't it? Yeah, like, so what, like, and, like, I wouldn't put it past him. This is the same guy who tried to stage a coup, take over the government when he lost the election in 2020. The same fucking guy. This, by the way, if you're upset that I have a picture of the flag upside down, this is during the insurrection in January 6th. So these are actually Trump supporters flying the flag upside down. Not me. I just found a picture of Trump supporters doing it. It's actually not a violation of the flag code either. You can do it in times when you feel like when America's in times of distress. And that's what it is right now. This country is in times of distress currently because of this. It just is. And it will be, because it's the very democracy that we hold dear is at stake. Because we all know Trump wants to be a dictator. He worships Putin practically. So he's going to let Putin and Russia get away with everything. He's going to pull out all the support for Ukraine is going to be out the window. He's going to take away all that support, let Putin get away with anything. So he'll finally take over Ukraine. He'll probably branch out maybe to Taiwan. Like, I think it was Taiwan. And, like, we have, like, a treaty set up with, I think it was Taiwan, to, like, come to their aid if something happens. Probably won't even hold that up. And maybe even the dissolution of NATO in general, honestly. Because he's mentioned before how he does not like NATO and he wants to disband it. 1 million people have died on his watch during the COVID outbreak when that first happened. The last year of his presidency in 2020, 1 million people died on his watch. he was cited as wanting to use the military against United States citizens during some of the riots. And the like some of the generals were like, you can't use the actual military against your own fucking citizens. You can't fucking do that. Even though he wanted to. But, and I could go on and on. I can, because I don't like this guy. Clearly, I don't like this guy. Now, is it all Republicans' faults? No. Democrats are greatly at fault too. Because they must have known that Biden wasn't going to stand much of a chance. He's getting up there in age. Although Trump is, I think, 3 years younger than Biden, so they're both the same age. So, like, I was hearing a lot of things where it's like, oh, Biden's too old, he's senile, and everything like that. I'm like, bro, Trump is the same age. They're very close to the same fucking age. They're both clearly senile and don't know what the fuck they're talking about, which should be scary, because obviously Trump doesn't have as bad of dementia or whatever you want to call it like Biden does, but he still has some kind of senility or whatever. He's clearly not all there in the head. What was it talking about? But yeah, it's what the fuck was I talking about? Obviously with Trump, but oh yeah, the Democrats. So it's like, and they just kind of forced Kamala Harris into a position of being the next. There was no vote. There's no primary vote on who Democrats thought should be the one to go up against Trump. No, they just kind of pushed her forward into it, right? And it's like people are blaming her for the Biden administration when that's not really fair either, because it's like, okay, you can blame Biden for the Biden administration, but the vice president doesn't really have a whole lot of power to do much of anything, right? Like, apparently she was maybe stationed or supposed to be in charge of the border? Maybe, but she's like, people are blaming grocery prices and gas prices, like everything that went wrong in 2024, which, I mean, there was a lot, or not 2024, in the last 4 years. Obviously, prices are up, inflation is up, right? But that's not, like, I wouldn't even really blame Biden for all of that. But yeah, like, if you want to, you can blame Biden for that. But why are you equating Kamala Harris with Biden? Like, she didn't have any choice in any of that shit. She wasn't the president then, you know? And honestly, gas prices are going to do nothing. Oh, not gas prices. All the prices are going to do nothing but go up once Trump places his tariffs on stuff, right? Because you know how hard it is to find American-grown food here in America? Like, if it's not a farmer's market, and if it's not fruits and veggies, because you might get lucky with fruits and veggies, and they might be grown in America, but, like, a lot of people still rely on, like, frozen food and processed food and dry foods and stuff like that. And, like, most of that is not made in America. So grocery prices are going to go up because we end up having to pay for those tariffs, right? So it's like, that's going to go up. Gas prices are probably going to go up. So, like, he's just going to, like, people are bitching and complaining about Biden increasing the prices. Just wait till Trump gets in charge. He's going to increase the prices even more. And then on top of that, the reason why prices increased so dramatically since 2020 was because of COVID. People be like, oh, well, think back to when Trump was president. Well, like, weren't you better off when Trump was president? Well, yeah, because that was before COVID happened. Ever since COVID happened, prices have skyrocketed, not because of the president, but because of COVID, and because you got greedy food corporations that raised the prices during COVID time, when COVID was going really strong in 2020, they raised the prices, and they never lowered the prices again. They're like, well, shit, people are buying food, and they have to eat, so let's just fucking keep the prices high, and they never lowered the prices back down. And food costs have been going steadily up because these food corporations know they can get away with that shit. So they are. Now, unless a president does some kind of executive order, presidents usually don't have control of the general prices of food. That's not really something in their control unless they make a specific executive order. And then, even then, I don't know if that would be technically allowed because I think the corporations are in charge of what they charge for their prices. So it's kind of ridiculous to try to like judge where you were pre 2020 to where you are currently. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't have anything to do with who was president at the time. That has more to do with before COVID versus after COVID, which is none of the president's fault. And on top of that, I do remember over 1 million people dying of COVID under President Trump's watch. Why? Because before COVID happened, he disbanded the pandemic response team. And then right after he disbanded the pandemic response team, oh, look, here's a giant ass pandemic who's taking out a lot of people. And there was dead bodies being stored in cold meats trucks because the hospitals were overwhelmed with dead bodies because people were dying left and right because of his poor planning and his poor reaction to COVID when it first broke out. And now you're hearing all these rumors that, oh, there might be some kind of pandemic brewing with monkeypox or something else going on. Like, there's always these rumors where it's like the next big pandemic's coming or whatever. Who knows if it's true or not? But like, I don't trust Trump to handle any kind of pandemic. He showed he can't do it last time it happened. Hopefully we don't have any other pandemic, but I mean, that's just, whatever. But I mean, those are just my general thoughts on, I guess you can consider it politics. I guess I'm like, oh, DSP is doing a politics stream, and I watched some of it today with I was watching Piece of Peace do some of it. Oh my god, he's so fucking stupid. He doesn't understand anything. Like, why did he think he was going to be good at that? And that's the other bullshit thing. It's like, he's clearly right-leaning, right? Very right-leaning, very Republican. And there's nothing wrong with being Republican. But the fact that he was hiding it for so long, because he was so afraid that if Camilla had won, he wasn't going to do his politics stream because he was going to think that, like, oh, he was in the minority or something, right? He was thinking that his thoughts weren't going to be tolerated because he's right-leaning and he's too much of a fucking pussy to speak his thoughts. But because Trump won, he feels more entitled to speak his opinion more freely because he thinks more people are going to be willing to accept his opinion because he thinks America has somehow become more right-leaning because of that somehow. I don't know. But really, more people are going to be pissed off that, A, he didn't vote at all. He never votes. So it's like, you can't really vote, or you can't really not vote and then bitch and complain about a government, right? Like, you don't really have a say-so in complaining about what a government does and doesn't do if you didn't fucking vote. And secondly, it's like, he doesn't really understand a whole lot about it to really do it. Like, he clearly, like, with his fucking mind being fucked up, like, he clearly doesn't understand a lot of things or how things work in general, let alone politics, right? Now, what I'm doing now, like, this isn't going to be a regular thing. I don't really plan on it. But I mostly wanted to talk about the whole Dragon Age thing and the whole bullshit that, like, people are making out the whole woke versus not woke thing, which is all just kind of bullshit in my opinion again. And then the election happened, so I just wanted to give my brief thoughts on the election. Also, but this ain't gonna be a regular thing for me. I'm not gonna make like a politics show because I don't really feel like I need to. And again, I admit I'm not fully understanding of every single intricacy of the politics in America. I'm just not. So it's like, why should I be speaking out my ass on some of this stuff when I don't know everything? Right? Which is questions DSP should be asking himself. But anyway, I digress. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone too much. I wasn't out to try to offend anyone. I was just giving my own thoughts and opinions. If you disagree with me, that is fine. Obviously, as human beings, we have different viewpoints. I'm not over here shitting on people who did vote for him. You should vote for whoever you want to win, regardless, right? That's the point of voting. But if you have any comments or you think I was wrong about something, you feel free to comment it in my comment section. I don't delete comments. I'll try to reply to whichever ones I can. I'm not really looking to debate anyone, though, so I'm not going to go on full-length debates with people in the comment section. But you're welcome to your opinions, and if you want to have an opinion on what I said or anything like that, feel free. But yeah, that's it for this one. I'll be back to reacting probably maybe tomorrow night if I have time. Maybe tomorrow night. We'll see. Anyway, I'll see you guys all later. Bye.